This video is brought to you by Minecraft. Minecraft, the official sponsor of the 2018 FIFA World Cup. What's going on, guys? Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com bringing you a video today to discuss why an unpredictable World Cup ball is not a good thing and won't necessarily lead to more goals. If you guys do end up enjoying the video, don't forget to support it with a like. And if you're new here watching for the first time, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. Now, about a week ago, I made a video talking about some public complaints made by De Gea, Ter Stegen, as well as Pepe Reina in regards to the Adidas Telstar 18, the official match ball of the 2018 World Cup that's going to be played this summer. Basically, with all these goalkeepers coming to the conclusion that this has a very unpredictable flight path, which makes it difficult to track when struck from a longer distance, therefore more difficult to stop, and just completely different than other match balls that they are used to using. And I also talked about the whole FIFA approval process in that video and how I think it's a big scam. It's very, very interesting, and if you haven't checked it out, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen because it definitely ties in to what I'm going to be discussing in this video, because the comment section on that video got a lot of people saying that they intentionally did this to create more goals. But does an unpredictable ball actually create more goals? In my opinion, it does not, and here's why. Now, one of the #1 responses that I got in that video in regards to arguing in favor of an unpredictable match ball is a lot of people use the logic that an unpredictable ball would result in more goals, therefore would increase the ratings and number of eyes on the FIFA World Cup in general, which is good for Adidas, it's good for FIFA, it's good for all the sponsors, it's essentially good for everything. If more people watch, that is definitely not a bad thing. However, I don't necessarily understand the logic in thinking that this is always going to result in more goals if the ball is unpredictable. I would actually make the argument that an unpredictable ball in regards to how it flies through the air will result in less goals rather than more. Now think about this for a second. We're talking about the best players in the world, especially for the World Cup. These guys practice every single day to be as consistent as possible. When you're talking about the guys who are scoring goals, especially, they're practicing one thing: consistency. They want to be able to hit a specific spot in the net every single time from all kinds of different situations and positions on the field. That's what they practice on a daily basis. So when you implement the ball, which is obviously the one thing that they're practicing with, that has some kind of an unpredictability to it, if they're aiming at the exact perfect corner as close to the post as possible, there's potential for something like this to swerve away, to swerve towards the goalkeeper, to swerve up, to swerve down. Yes, that can result in a goal, a scoring chance that wouldn't necessarily be there if the shot is maybe not as good and it swerves away from the goalkeeper, but you're also gonna end up with plenty of instances where, guess what? The shot was perfect. It was struck just right. If it was a normal ball, it would be a sure thing. But because the ball is unpredictable, maybe it swerves away from the goal. Maybe it swerves and hits the post or the crossbar, and the result is no goal rather than an actual goal. Again, based on the unpredictability aspect, it's not just the goalkeepers that are going to suffer here, it's going to be the players as well, specifically the players trying to score. If you shoot the ball straight and the ball doesn't go straight, there's a chance that that's just going to be a complete miss. That's not necessarily your fault, but the ball's fault. And that to me is something that would be extremely frustrating for players as well as goalkeepers who are, again, trying to practice to be as consistent as possible. But when you implement something unpredictable like the ball, then there's a little bit of a luck aspect to it. And I'm not sure that that's something that should exist at the professional level. Name me another professional team sport played with the ball where the ball has some kind of randomness to the way that it performs based on where the game is being played. This is the only sport in the world where from league to league, from tournament to tournament, there's a ton of variation, not only in regards to the feel of the ball, and I definitely understand that each ball is going to feel a little bit different. That's something you have to get used to, but the performance characteristics of really the only piece of equipment that is required to play this sport in the first place, that is something that, in my opinion, should not change whatsoever. If you kick the ball straight, it should always go straight. I get the argument that you think it's kind of entertaining for the ball to float around kind of randomly, but at the same time, I just don't think that this should be a part of the sport. If FIFA is going to charge companies like Adidas and Nike and any brand for that matter to get their balls FIFA approved, not only should the quality be up to a certain standard, not only should the durability be up to a certain standard, but the way the ball performs should be 100% consistent. The variation should not exist. And we're not just talking about unpredictability in regards to scoring goals, we're talking about unpredictability every single time the ball leaves the air, which it'll do pretty frequently during a professional match. If the ball constantly stayed on the ground, it really wouldn't matter all that much. But a lot of goals, especially in the professional game, come from crosses. And when the cross flies through the air and the ball does something unpredictable, guess what? The guy who's on the receiving end of that cross is not going to receive the cross because the ball did something that he could not predict. I would make the argument that that's going to result in less goals rather than more because of the unpredictability. I would guess, and this is just my opinion, I think I'm kind of right here, if you asked professional players what they value in a ball, it would be predictability. That goes for players, that goes for goalkeepers, that goes for every single position, because if you kick the ball straight, you want the ball to go straight. You want it to react the way that you expect it to react based on what you've been practicing for basically your entire life. As far as why these match balls perform inconsistently, I really feel like it has to do with the panel design. These puzzle piece shaped panels that Adidas likes to do for every World Cup tournament, it always results in a ball that has some level of inconsistency in terms of how it flies through the air, which is something that we've seen consistently over the last 4 or 5 World Cup tournaments. If you look at a match ball like this, which is a few years old now, this one being from Nike, this I believe being the Tracer, it has a more traditional 32 panel construction. It's a stitch construction rather than fuse, which is not necessarily a big thing, but I've always found that whenever you have something that has a more traditional panel shape, you end up with a ball that performs much more consistently. Another great example would be the current Champions League ball, also from Adidas. FIFA approved match ball performs significantly better and significantly more consistent than the Telstar 18. So as long as Adidas decides to mess around with these kind of modern puzzle piece panel shapes, you're going to end up with inconsistencies as far as I'm concerned. And until they decide to change, or until FIFA decides to start regulating this, this is going to be the result of all the World Cup match balls from here forward, because it doesn't seem like Adidas really wants to change this. Now, there were also some responses that I got on that original video where people were arguing for FIFA allowing Adidas to innovate with the balls, or any brand for that matter, in that they're pushing the boundaries of performance and technology for the equipment in the game. And I have no issues with that at all, especially when it comes to the boots. But when it comes to the ball, I'm almost of the opinion that it should be a lot more standardized than it is. I really feel like if it's the one thing that is required to play this sport, that it should be as consistent as possible. And I think it's been proven pretty well at this point that when you allow companies to do something that's never been done before, you end up with performance characteristics that nobody has ever seen before, which, as I think I've made it pretty clear at this point, isn't necessarily a good thing in regards to scoring more goals. It's just going to make for inconsistencies and randomness that I would imagine is extremely frustrating for pros, whether they're goalkeepers or players. I just don't think it's a good thing. If one thing should be the same, it should be the ball. I also don't agree with the argument that the technology implemented in the new World Cup ball is what drives the sales of the product. Yes, there are equipment nerds like myself that are going to be genuinely interested in the tech aspect of the ball, but at the same time, Adidas, or any brand for that matter, doesn't actually reveal all that much in regards to how the technology works and what exactly is happening with the balls. You kind of just see what it looks like, and they show you and tell you about what you can see, but for the most part, we don't really know too much else. For me, in my opinion, the vast majority of people, 99.9% of people, they buy the World Cup ball because it's the World Cup ball, not because of a specific panel shape, not because of a specific design or a technology that's been implemented. In fact, the World Cup match ball, this one retailing for $165. It's the most expensive match ball of all time. This is going to be the one variation of the ball that, again, 99.9% of people are not actually going to be purchasing. They're going to be buying the $20 version because it looks like the $165 version, and that's all they care about. People buy the World Cup ball because it's the World Cup ball. People buy the Champions League ball because it's the Champions League ball. They don't actually care that much about the technology, or at least the vast majority of consumers who are buying the vast majority of these products. I also think that it's worth pointing out that I fully understand that these brands have to come up with new products in hopes of driving sales, but at the same time, should Nike, Adidas, and Puma, and whatever brand it might be producing match balls, have the ability to influence the way the ball performs and essentially change the game for the sake of more money and more sales for the company? In my opinion, no. The ball should be consistent and the technology really shouldn't change that much just because these brands want to try and make more money. So in conclusion, the Telstar 18 from Adidas will be the official match ball of the World Cup. We're not going to see any changes beforehand, I can guarantee you that. And really, this is an issue that we can't really solve. This is an issue that is caused by FIFA, is allowed by FIFA, and until they decide to try and regulate this thing and remove the randomness from these match balls for the World Cup and the Euro Cup, I would argue as well, we're just gonna have to deal with it. And the players will have to deal with it, the goalkeepers will have to deal with it, and ultimately the World Cup will go on regardless of whether or not the ball has this randomness in terms of how it flies through the air. I'm just sharing my own opinion here in that I don't think that it's right that we end up with these inconsistencies in the one thing that is required to play this sport. This is the one thing that should be consistent, and unfortunately, even at the professional level, it's not. Let me know your thoughts on this situation down below in the comment section. And if you have any questions for me at all regarding this very interesting topic, at least in my opinion it is, let me know down below in the comments and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you as soon as I possibly can. If you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching.